Hello everyone and welcome to APLING 637, Ethnography of Education, Culture, Language, and Literacy. I'm so glad you're here and I'm really looking forward to the next several weeks, and we will spend learning together and doing many things together. So my name is Dr. Vanessa Quintana Sarria and I'll be your instructor for this course. But before we dive into the course itself, I want to take a few minutes to introduce myself, not just as your professor, but as a scholar and as a person, because I think that matters a great deal in a course like this. So I am a multilingual ethnographer and a scholar practitioner. I was born and raised in Colombia, and I came to this work because I always been deeply interested in the relationship between language, identity, and educational access. And those are questions that for me are not only academic, but they are very personal. So my research focuses on how teachers and students navigate language education systems that are often shaped by restrictive policies and competing language ideologies. I am especially interested in multilingual English learners in K-12 settings and in the way teachers use practices like translanguaging, drawing on students' full linguistic repertoires to transform classroom into sites of linguistic justice and critical consciousness. So my dissertation, which was recognized as a finalist for the American Association of Applied Linguistics Dissertations Award this year, was grounded in 3 years of immersive ethnography, and it was ethnography fieldwork in a Massachusetts sheltered English immersion program serving predominantly Latino students. And that experience shaped everything about how I think about ethnography, not as a neutral research tool, but as a practice with real stakes for real communities. So I'm also currently the lecturer of ethnography and identity courses at the APLING department, and I was part of the CREATE grant, which was a initiative to leave development services for in-service teachers working with multilingual learners across Massachusetts public schools. So we worked with 9 districts in Boston and Boston Gray areas. So beyond of that, I have taught English learners at the elementary, secondary, and post-secondary levels in Colombia, Malta, and the United States. And I have mentored immigrant youth through different community organizations in Boston. So I want to tell you all of this because I want you to understand that everything we do in these courses, or in this course in particular, connects to lives and communities that really matter, real communities and real people. So ethnography, when done well, is never just an academic exercise. So what is this course about? At its heart, APLING 637 is a research methods course. But I want to fly right away that research methods can sound dry and procedural. And I promise you, this course is anything but. We are asking deep questions, deep and urgent questions. What kinds of questions do ethnographers ask? How do they choose a site to study? And how do they prepare for field work? What tools do they use? And critically, what ethical responsibilities do they carry? So over the next 7 weeks, running from July 1st through August 22nd, we will explore all of this. You will read classic and contemporary ethnography studies dealing with race, class, culture, language, and learning, and you will gain hands-on experience with ethnographic tools, including participant observation and interviewing. And by the end of the semester, you will have written your own ethnographic research proposal, a real plan for a study you want to conduct. And if you are a PhD student, this is a great opportunity to start practicing for your dissertation proposal. So what are the objectives of the course? So first is to become familiar with the type of questions ethnographers ask and answer, and to develop what Mills and Morton call ethnographic mindset, a way of being, seeing, and thinking about the world and the communities that we decide to work with. To learn and practice core ethnographic tools, participant observation, field notes, analytic memos, and interviews. To gain experience collecting and analyzing ethnography data. To read a range of powerful ethnography studies in educational contexts, including one full-length ethnography monograph. I think that this is a great opportunity and resource for you. And for those who are doctoral students, maybe this is a first look to how your research might look when you are disseminating your findings in different publications. And to develop and articulate your own research questions. And I think that this matters for all students, regardless of your level, because in the end, higher education is about that. The questions that we ask to figure out who we are as humans and educators. I hope you're vibing with my neighbor's music because he's blasting Kendrick Lamar music today. So let me walk you through how the course is organized so there are no surprises. This is a full online course and it runs in weekly modules. Each module opens on Tuesdays at 9 a.m. Eastern Time and closes the following Monday at midnight Eastern Time. Reading materials will be available before each module opens so you can get a head start if you would like to. And modules remain accessible after they close, only that the discussion board is going to be closed after the deadline. So you can always return to review the materials and to review my responses to your discussion. And because this is an interactive online course, I expect you to log into Canvas several times each week, not just to read and watch, but to engage. And think of our online discussion boards as the equivalent of our seminar table. And that is where the real intellectual work happens. So now in the slide, I want to show you how each week is expected to work. So I will upload a short introductory video like this one that covers key course information and walks you through the main ideas from that week's reading. I will also share a PowerPoint presentation that summarizes the key concepts from the module, which you can use alongside your reading. And from you, each week, I expect active participation in the discussion board. You will respond to a discussion prompt and reply thoughtfully to at least one peer. And I want us to build a genuine intellectual community here, one where we push each other's thinking with curiosity and care. So now let me give you a quick overview of the major assignments for the semester. So weekly participation has a value of 20%, and this is ongoing and includes your discussion board posts, journal entries, and any other activities I assign. Consistent, thoughtful engagement matters here. Missing more than one module will affect your grade. We have also the discussion leader, which is 10% of your grade. And in the second half of the semester, weeks 9 to 12, You will each take a turn to lead our online discussion of one of the readings. You will design a brief slideshow, pose discussion questions, and engage with your peers' responses, and write a short synthesis at the end of the module. I will assign discussion leaders roles in the first couple of weeks. Data collection assignment is 20%, and after we study participant observation and field note taking, you will go out and do it. You will identify a site observe. You will identify a site. You will observe. You will take field notes, and you will write a 3 to 4 page reflection on the experience. Then we have the data analysis assignment. You will put ethnographic analysis methods into practice, either on data you collect yourself or a database that I will provide. Then finally, we have our research proposal, which is 30% of your grade. And this is your culminating project. So by the end of the course, you will have a written full ethnographic research proposal. Your research questions, your literature base, you propose sites and methods, and your expected output. So now let's turn on our first module, which is titled An Introduction to Ethnography. And this week you have 3 readings, and together they do something really smart. They each approach the question, what is ethnography, from a different angle, and putting them in conversation with each other is where the interesting thinking begins. So the first is a chapter by Del Himes, one of the foundational figures in the field. And in his chapter, What is Ethnography?, Himes is direct. Ethnography is not just any non-experimental, non-quantitative research. It is something specific. He argues that good ethnography is systematic, is comparative, and open to discovering meanings and patterns it did not anticipate. And that last piece is crucial. For Himes, the ethnographer must remain genuinely open to being surprised, open to finding that the questions they brought into the field were the wrong questions or incomplete ones. And he also makes a point that I find personally compelling. Ethnography, done right, is a democratic practice. It takes very seriously the knowledge that community members already hold about their own worlds. So, knowledge that is often intricate, subtle, and taken for granted. Ethnography's job is to surface it, to honor it, and to put it in conversation with broader understandings. The second reading is the Introduction to Mills and Morton's. Ethnography in this section is about education. And Mills and Morton offer what I think is a beautiful framing. Ethnography as being, seeing, and writing. They are not just describing a method. They are describing a way of being in the world as a researcher. And they introduce three principles that will anchor our work all the semester. That ethnography is a disposition, not just a toolkit, that it should be an uncomfortable science, or one that puts you genuinely at risk of having your assumptions disrupted. And that requires actually empathy, the ability to understand the experiences of others on their own terms and not your terms. So they also ask questions I want you to sit with. Can ethnography be thought? Their answer is nuanced, and it is one we will keep returning to. The third reading is Chapter 1 on Heath and Streets on ethnography approaches to language and literary research. And this one does something different from the others. Rather than starting with a definition of ethnography, Heath and Street start with what ethnographers study, especially language, culture, and learning. They use a wonderful extended metaphor of juggling to capture what becoming an ethnographer feels like. It takes practice, trial and error, and body knowledge, and the humbling experience of dropping all the balls before you find your rhythm. A metaphor that I deeply appreciated when I was doing my own immersive ethnography project. And they also introduce a concept that will be central to this course, the idea that culture should be understood as a verb and not as a noun. Culture does not just exist in a vacuum. It does. It is dynamic, shifting, contexted, contradictory, and always in process. And as ethnographers, our job is to catch in emotion or catch that motion. So as you read this week, I want you to hold a few questions in mind. First, what does each author think ethnography is for? Not just methodologically, but politically and ethically. Second, where do these authors agree and where do they pull in different directions? And third, and most importantly for these week discussions, what kind of learner does ethnography ask you to be? And how does that compare to how you have been trained as a researcher so far? So that last question is exactly what your discussion post for this week asks you to explore. You will find the full prompt instructions and grading expectations on the Canvas discussion board, and your initial post should be a minimum of 300 words, and you should draw on all of the 3 readings and should close with one habit of mind you want to cultivate or unlearn this semester. You also need to reply thoughtfully to at least one peer before the module closes. So class, I'm truly excited to learn alongside you this summer. My office hours are available by appointment, so just email me and let's set up something up. Please do not hesitate to reach out if you have any questions about the readings, the assignments, or anything else. So again, welcome to APLING 637, and let's get to work.